link with the Bastion, you can change targets, and then you get that second shot of that line stun. By the end, they had to flash pretty proactively because they were just worried about the engaged potential from that Taric provided. So it's good to see KT playing something different. MVP tried something different, KT tried something different, and KT made us a believe.
That they have. And
wow, MVP have to ban Taric. It wouldn't have been surprising again if we started the season on 6.9, but when you just really aren't ready for a pick like that, I guess maybe banning it is the safest course of action.
I mean, pretty much any champion to see a performance like that, you probably want to take it off the board or at least pick it for yourself. So, you know, not in a position to get a first pick by any means, MVP. Unsurprisingly, going to ban this one away. Some similar bans coming out, though. We see that the Trundle and the Ryze have both been banned here by KT Rolster, and Ekko is actually going to follow up as well here for MVP, so taking that out of Ssumday's hands.
I just want to say that you have to remember the MVP are on red side this game. Of course, you have less flexibility about your bans, given the nature of first picks when you're on red side. So having to ban support Taric on red side is actually a really heavy price. This shows you how much they respect the pick. If they were on blue, absolutely throw it out as a ban, but they've given away Kindred as a result of being forced into banning that Taric.
Okay, yeah, we haven't seen Kindred a whole lot so far in the matches that we've gone through.
Kindred did have some changes on 6.9 and 6.10, specifically that early damage salvo when you're trading with the enemy. Of course, Kindred would hit level 3. If you found the enemy jungler and got the first auto off, they were basically dead. Now you still have the same sort of jungle clear, even though the amount of Q charges that you can get off during the W has changed because of they've just retuned the numbers. But when it comes to actual damage to enemy champions, it's on the lower side because of how they've tweaked the kit of Kindred.
Yeah, we've seen her banned 5 times so far, picked just once, and that game was a loss. So KT going to look to give her a 50% win rate here today as they seek to close out for a 2-0 victory. Looking like MVP going to be playing around with the Maokai and the Elise. You know, Beyond didn't really have too many, big plays, but I guess he wasn't in much of a position to make them on the Elise. But I guess this is something that he can try to be fairly consistent on, maybe create picks. You have that follow-up CC with the Twisted Advance or even the setup to get the Cocoon. So it's a decent combo there, and just overall not showing much for the composition that MVP wants to piece together here.
It's a lot of lane pressure as well, whether it's ganking for the Maokai or more realistically, Maokai teleport flanking and Elise showing up in lane. You got targeted CC and of course the good CC coming through from the Elise. So as you mentioned, it doesn't pigeonhole them into a poke comp, but it is engage options and relative safety in the first 2 picks. So lots to like for MVP. They can go in many directions from here. Speaking of that, KT, you're not really locked into anything with the Kindred. I guess you probably want a tank in the top lane to pair with it. And is Fly going to bring it back? Probably not with Viktor available.
Yeah, just going to go for the Viktor. Says, I got you guys. I would love to see the Ziggs come out, though. I actually haven't really seen much, even in solo queue, I haven't seen much Ziggs since the rework.
It's an interesting change. Of course, the ult doesn't do double damage to minions, so it's less of that oppressive, just stop every side minion away from pushing style.
We're going to 70 minutes.
But you get to blow up enemy turrets with your W, which is a fun thing. Yeah, Ahri was a pick that carried MVP through those penultimate and final games of the series against Kongbu Monster. We do not see a lot of Ahri, but famously was always a pretty good lane matchup into the Viktor.
Well, he did tease this. He hovered over the Ahri pick in the last draft, but decided to go for, just taking the Lucian and swapping things around.
Maokai, Elise, Ahri is certainly a pick comp that makes a lot of sense. I don't mind the pick if they lock it in. Right now, it's not been locked. The Caitlyn, which was banned in Game 1, is made available, and it looks like tempted to go full pick comp, but they decide to go for the Azir instead.
Okay. So not going to show us Ian's Ahri this time around, but we'll get to see his Azir and see how that plays out. But I'm interested to see Maha's Caitlyn as well. I mean, if it's enough to get a respect ban away from you, it ought to be damn good. So we'll see what he can do this time around with this champion instead of the Twitch like we saw in the last game. But now, last 2 picks coming in here for KT, looking for a top laner and a support. And now Hachani playing around with the idea of this Karma.
Karma support, obviously seeing more and more picks recently. The range supports were kind of the story of, especially the knockout stages of MSI, as some of those tank supports fell away. This is crazy. Remember, Alistar's not been banned and might fall through picks as well. Looking very likely to fall through. We saw on display from Gorilla yesterday that the ultimate nerfs have really hurt. You know, 50 to 70% doesn't sound like a big difference, but you have to remember that's 30% extra damage that Alistar has taken. Yep. So really came through and shined.
Here we go.
We see the second reach for the Swain. No surprise that it's Ssumday. Smeb, Ssumday, cut from the same cloth. Love the top lane carries. Maokai will build Spirit Visage and sustain through, but with the Elise instead of the Rek'Sai, although Elise can build tanky, the best build for Elise usually balances damage and tankiness. It's probably not going to be the unkillable front line facing the Swain.
Now we can see, though, pass back over to MVP for the final pick. It's going to be Karma. So they said, you know what? You didn't want it. You took the board. We'll take the Karma for ourselves. So heavy poke lane there with this Caitlyn and Karma.
Yeah, very tilting lane to face against, especially for the Sivir at short range. Even with the spell shield, both the auto attack harass from the Caitlyn and Karma just waiting out the spell shield.
Can't mitigate everything.
And just trying to blow you up. So Bard does give a bit of lane pressure, but 2v2 is certainly going to be a big advantage for MVP. One of the issues they'll face going forward is they've gone again for this Caitlyn-Azir combo where Caitlyn really wants to push the enemy turrets down, come mid, set up some traps, and stick in the mid lane. And Azir famously, very much not a teleport mid laner. If you do build the teleport, it's very defensive teleports. You can't really make playmaking plays with a teleport. This game looks like it's going to be the exhaust from Ian. So you have that issue of Caitlyn's mid, where's the Azir going? Because he needs access to blue buff and safety. And outside of mid lane, Azir can't find it.
Yeah, so far, he has a couple seconds left to change this if he wants to, but it looks like Fly is just going to opt for the heal, so has that added little bit of safety in the mid side. He will, in fact, lock it in, so not going to be seeing any sort of double exhaust, you know, no teleport Viktor coming in this game. So just going to go with that summoner spell, so no exhausts on the side of KT this time around.
Hachani's really on form with the Bard. Bard ultimate into the never move from Swain could be really exciting CC chaining that could come through.
Well, that's a good thing to bring up here. What do you think we're going to see as far as the level 1 goes? Because we could have, you know, you have that big AoE route with Swain. We could have some shenanigans.
There's certainly the possibility. We already seen what Bard can do, so let's be excited and optimistic because KT don't want to go with a whimper in the early game. They need to make something happen.
Yeah, well, they're looking to make a 2-0 happen as we go into Game 2 against MVP. See what happens.
미니언 생성까지 30초 남았습니다.
KT fans definitely feeling the magic tonight here in the studio.
I'm feeling the magic of KT's Game 2 draft. I really like what they've put together. Once again, it's Sivir Viktor, so wave clear is certainly not a dirty word. It's got plenty of wave clear in this comp. You've got the carry top laner for Ssumday, which always brings a smile to your face.
Yep.
And when we saw the Swain from Smeb, you have to, again, pair it with the lanes. It was Aurelion Sol, Swain, and the jungle Ekko. So very magic damage heavy. Lots of bit high base values, but not necessarily any sort of burst damage. This time it's Kindred jungle. So you have a damaged jungle, but one that does physical damage. They don't feel pigeonholed into just doing magic damage in the late game. They've got a lot of flexibility about their comp. But there's good lanes to gank for the Kindred. There's good scaling into the late game. There's strong wave clear. It team fights well. A lot to like on the side of KT, except for perhaps the 2v2 laning matchup. So avoiding that definitely in their advantage. But looks like they're on the top side of the map. So so far so good.
Yeah, they will find the 2v1 against ADD, which is probably just going to send him packing back into the jungle to join Beyond. As they try to orchestrate that swap, we can see Ssumday already just going to go ahead and stick around with score. I'll have to see how this one goes. I mean, this is, you know, Ssumday, as we were talking about before, earlier in the broadcast, very much considered the #1 top laner in the world last year. Smeb kind of overtaking that mantle and the first one to bring out Swain. Maybe this is also, you know, somewhat of a subtle, you know, way of saying, I'm going to prove myself to be the best top laner. Smeb, you can step aside. Ssumday's back.
I mean, year on year, that's kind of been the thing, is that it was all about Ssumday in summer of 2015, then it was all about Smeb in spring of this year. Same choice of the Keystone Mastery. Both of them are gone for that Deathfire touch. Jungle follow for Swain is never going to be something wonderful. And of course, we saw some adjustments in how experience works in that when it comes to the epic monsters, like for example, the red buff, the sharing of experience is a little bit changed. So Interesting to see how much experience Ssumday gets from the jungle follower. There's going to be a few camps before he gets anywhere near level 2. You can see still level 1 on the minimap.
Yeah. Roaming up now, though, to get that tower and soak up that wave as he gets ready to crash in. Just 2 members here, so this should give a little bit of a tempo advantage so far for MVP, as neither jungle has joined their team at the turrets. It looks like they're just going to completely avoid this as well.
Well, scores on Kindred, so he's getting greedy for a stack. That's just the reality. But because Elise went for the Scuttlecraft, you're not going to be punished in terms of decreased tempo. 3 on both sides, so KT kind of get everything. They get the stack, a bit of snowball onto the Kindred, but more importantly, they're dodging this 2v2 laning matchup, which is something very much in their advantage.
Yep. See though,
Arrow needs to really.
Don't know how I
Okay.
Okay.
I
mean, sure, whatever.
You know,
you do you, Arrow.
you get back to the base pretty fast that way.
Yeah, you don't have to channel the recall anymore. I mean, by the time you do that, you pretty much respawn.
I mean, it doesn't help your KDA, but tactical death coming through from Arrow.
Yeah, tactical death indeed, but
I mean, the hilarious thing is it really, really helps Ssumday, because now the lane is super frozen.
yeah. But oh god. Damn it. All right. Well, so that just occurred. But meanwhile, Infernal Drake, first one of the game, does go down at about the 4-minute mark for MVP. So a bit better RNG this time around. Not going to get the air. Hopefully not multiple times.
I like how we have RNG Dragons and RNG Kindred marks. We're going full Hearthstone, boys.
Yep. That, I mean, the marks are going to be that much more important come 6.11 if those PvE changes come through, because now she's going to get 5 extra damage on the Q for every mark that she has. And now they expand to Dragons, Reds, and Blue buffs. So it's going to be really important to be able to pick those up.
We'll try and reserve our judgment. Those, of course, can change very quickly, such as the public beta environment, but Kindred will continue to get adjusted. She's very much that reach for jungle. Nidalee and Kindred seem to be the A tier, and then it's all about the the Elise Rek'Sai in the next rotation.
See though, lanes are going to go back to the 2v2 as Maha and Max did make their way back up top.
Wow,
really aggressive TP's coming in. Beyond is behind the tower. Cocoon's not going to land as Hachani flashes away from this one. Can they get out? The repel going up. Score just now coming in, and MVP going to botch this dive. Big investments coming through with that teleport.
The timing between specifically Maokai and Elise wasn't quite clear cut. You can see what they were trying to do. It took us a second to realize and register that Elise was close, but without hitting that first CC, they really get very little out of what was a big investment for them. And you see Ssumday at the bottom of the map, still very happily farming up. Maokai teleport down is a long cooldown, especially in a world where no longer are there distortion boots to get around such things, around the 10-15 minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 summoner spells. They got 3, but not having that TP advantage is going to be pretty bad. We can see, though, Flash does go down to the mid lane as Ian tries to go in for the Shurima Shuffle. It's not going to connect, and he will be able to maintain his safety as that Viktor.
Gets the summoner spell in exchange for an ult, though, so happy trade for MVP. And you have to say, though, although the teleport was blown, all flashes short of Max's are up for MVP, and now 3 down for KT.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice spot. We can see, though, gank getting orchestrated here by Score and Hachani as they try to come in here immediately slow from the 90 caliber net. They're going in, though, trying to get onto Maha. Hachani's taking a hell of a lot of damage, though, from these headshot crits coming through, but he's going to get bound to the wall, and he's going to go down. First blood going over to Score. Says, you know what, Arrow, you executed yourself. You don't deserve this one. I'm going to take it.
I really like how Score put off that fight. First, he aggressively flashed onto the support, and you saw Karma. She was always going to get away, but because she took the first salvo of damage, had those mounting wolf stacks on her from the E, she was forced to back away, and that just meant that Maha was in no man's land, was going to have to take 3 people. So stopping Karma from being able to group with her AD carry, move back towards the turret, and then changing focus onto the AD carry was a veteran move and guaranteed a kill from what could definitely have been a slippery Maha and Max getting away, because remember, Maha dies with both summoners up.
Uh-oh, look at this, though. Ssumday really far forward. Now tower, but the Cocoon goes really far ahead. A little bit too much lead, but Ssumday, no ultimate available, has to burn the flash. Here comes Hachani. Does he arrive in time? Trying to keep him alive. One more hit will do it. It's going to be the Arcane Smash finishing off here from AD, but here comes Score, roaming down from the jungle, getting onto Beyond, who has no mana, no flash. and he is going to go down. That's going to be another kill here for the Kindred. Tries to get a cheeky play, rotating out of the brush, but it's not going to happen. And now ADD getting slowed up, looking like he might go down. No, he will be able to waddle his way out to safety, but still going to be a kill coming in onto that Elise.
The first 8 minutes, the one word that you should really take away from this is target selection. I guess 2 words, but the one term is target selection.
Just
because
mash them together.
But you can see that KT is so much cleaner at. They went for that optimistic dive MVP, didn't call out the targets, didn't have the timing, and then fell. And then you get to see the targets MVP. So Ssumday's level 5, so it doesn't have the ultimate to actually top up a bit of health, almost gets out, but then dies. But they're so smart with target selection. Score always opens up on the right member. He opens up on ADD. That means that he can't group with Beyond. He kites upwards, and that means they're guaranteed 1 kill, but have the outside chance on more. And that's just something that MVP so far haven't been able to execute. The playbook has been clean from KT and very muddied for MVP.
Yep. See, though, maybe looking for another play with the Magical Journey. Not going to be able to find it this time. There was a pink brush in that river ward there for Ian, so we'll keep themselves safe for the time being. Actually, going in does get the stun in onto Max, and they immediately dive in. Arrow not quite there yet. Has a tether going through, will lock them up, and the boomerang blade flies straight and true. He will go down. Hachani, Arrow just couldn't catch up to him in the portal. Hachani does go down. Overall, it's a 1-for-1. Both AD carries picking up some kills.
I love how it's a very peaceful yet still equally tragic death.
That was
Poor
pretty
Bard,
great.
just
Like, no, Hachani, come back here. I'm trying to save your life.
I gotta say, if you think back, Bard has died a lot this week.
He has.
Whenever we see Bards, they're dying a lot.
He died a lot yesterday.
Oh boy.
Gorilla's Bard was something that I might not ever want to witness again.
How many phrases did we say that you just never expected to say about the Rocks Tigers?
Smeb is a liability. Gorilla's Bard sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know, there's a couple
Gorilla
things.
just dying left, right, and center. All this stuff has just been insane, but when Score gets ahead in the early game, this is what happens. He makes the aggressive play calls. We complimented KT on this target selection as, well, there's nothing Arrow could do there, sadly. But a lot of that comes from Score, and I guess we have to start calling him a confidence player, because when he has that confidence, he's amazing.
Oh.
Dragon coming down.
Yeah, Score goes in the portal. He just spites it away, and he's just going to hop right back over. Gets a kill. Somebody, though.
No mana.
No mana for ADD either, but looks like, yeah, they're just going to back off away from each other.
It's just notable that Score doesn't play like this when either his lanes or he personally gets behind against a good opponent. That's the thing, is that against SKT, very much is an afterthought when he's really the cornerstone of a lot of their wins, which it just, you wonder what it is. Maybe it's a mentality thing, maybe it's just a confidence thing, but Score really does kind of oscillate between being clearly a top 2 jungler in Champions and being fairly anonymous in other games.
Yep. Well, so far this series, he's definitely resting himself up in that top 2 side of things.
As the Blood Razor, his triumphant return on these patches.
Yep. That was also a really good pickup, though, with the Ocean Drake, especially for Ssumday on this Swain, because we saw he was like really running out of mana there, but if he could just back out of the fight, suddenly just keep regenerating, go straight back in and maintain all that HP with that massive amount of sustain that he has at the moment. Can't wait for that to be nerfed.
With the supports and top laners who'd like to exit lane after they pushed, lane swap means that minion waves often get pushed too far and you have to exit lane. That's time that you can look for a roam, and either you get a roam or you, again, get those out of combat stats. So, dual benefit for KT in those scenarios.
Yep, that should be a nice Rod of Ages coming in quite soon here for Ssumday. He's just got to combine the 2 items, and he'll have that completed. So about 22, 23 minutes here, depending on how much gold he has on the next back. He'll have that one fully stacked up.
Max hasn't been able to get any aggressive teleport wards down, so even though KT are playing without a turret in the bot lane, they're able to play as if it's a normal laning phase. It's kind of a failure of both Beyond and Max, because they should be the ones playing around the duo lane and bot. It's Karma Caitlyn. They're going to have the 2v2 advantage. I want to see, as you can see now, Beyond coming down, get some of that deep vision, and at least threaten the potential of the Maokai teleport flank. Otherwise, you're just kind of letting Score have that free hunting season on the top side of the map, get either kills, and now looking like it's going to be the Rift Herald come down, and there's just no counterplay from MVP so far.
Yeah. just kind of been scrambling around, trying to do what little they can, and it's still just not working out for them. This will go down, so pit's going to be empty for about another 7 minutes until Baron surfaces. Score going to take the buff, and he'll have that until about the 33-minute mark or so.
Hilariously, they have no melee champions, so no one can get full value from the glimpse of the Void buff,
That's
so
true.
might as well give it to the jungler, I guess.
It's pretty true. I mean, Ssumday's pretty much the closest thing that they have to a melee champion right now.
Not even melee in his ultimate form, so he's not going to get that full value from the 20-minute buff. Yeah, buffs like that are just a reward of what has once again been a clean early game phase, and MVP just not having that extra step that's required at this level. It's just elementary that you must put down wards, because Sivir Bard should be punished for farming this far overextended from any safety of a turret.
Yep. And we can see that Arrow is getting pretty well set, almost has enough to get that Essence Reaver completed. Has all of the components, so just needs one more back, and then suddenly all of those juicy crits are going to be refunding him that mana.
See score. Scroop of the lane, he's happy to be shown in vision. It's not about that. He's trying to create some pressure on the side of the map where MVP should have exclusive pressure. Now that he's cleared a pink and put down wards, it feels like KT, despite again having that turret down, actually have control in the bot side of the map.
Yep. They might be looking to even add some pressure towards this turret. It looks like Maha and Max just want to get the Gromp, but now we're going to come back down and try to stop this push. But it's just hard when those waves are constantly crashing into your tower. I mean, obviously the filter of Peacemaker is there to add for some wave clear, but it's nowhere near the amount that you get from that Sivir with the ricochets.
Once KT push up, they're looking for the enemy blue. They can look for turret dive. Smite does get it confirmed for Beyond, but not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you would want that one onto Ian, but I guess it's, you know, goes both ways with score or Beyond having it. So either way, not very ideal, but better than just go ahead and reclaim your own buff.
KT with this pressure can't do what they really want, which of course is to crash down a couple more turrets. Viktor and Azir, very much a stalemate lane from years past. Once again, reinvigorated after the Viktor buffs, and pushing in Caitlyn Karma. You can maybe control the lane, pushing them in completely is just not possible given the massive amount of wave clear. Beyond's turbo coming in here.
Oh yeah, that's going to be the flash boost advance. Still connects on to Ssumday, who, does he have enough sustain? It's not going to be there. So he is going to fall. Nice gank coming in here from Beyond. Must have been the blue buff.
Yeah, swiftness boost meant enough movement speed that he was able to close the distance. Even though he missed the cocoon, it didn't end up being a relevant factor. Just the Rod of Ages scaling away on Ssumday. So overextending and dying. This is unfortunately Ssumday from last season rather than necessarily Ssumday from summer. But always that late game to look forward to for Swain.
Yeah, he's got the.
Oh boy, here we go.
Got 2 stacks on that, or the Rod of Ages now. But yes, we're going to try to go in onto ADDs all by himself. We can see the roam starting to come up now from Ssumday. He's just going to try to get the teleport off. No way for Score to stop him or kill him in time. So he will be able to escape back to the Nexus Towers. So good identifying there that ADD could have gotten out with the TP. So good on him. But
one auto attack away in that scenario. But MP smart. They noticed that top side is where all of KT are playing, so they will get their second Drake of the game.
There's going to be an air Drake, and the question is, are they going to trade this turret? I mean, it is just a Swain and a Kindred, so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to finish this one off. Bard waiting to pinch and dissuade anybody from moving in. Wave's there. They'll get some good damage in, but they're not going to be able to take this. So it will just be a dragon going over to the side of MVP, but now they're looking for the pinches. They're moving up here. He sets up the Spiderling to try to scout. Actual journeys up. Sport says, you know what? Well, now I'm going to go through it. Hops into it, but someday maybe just the sacrificial lamb yet again comes back in. Big Emperor's Divide comes out, actually. And it's going to be Max going down so far. Hachani on the wrong side of the wall will get picked off. Kill goes over to Maha. And now MVP are trying to continue to push this one out, but Beyond is just going to go down. Score has used the Lambs for Spike, cannot save Hachani's life, and now it looks like he's going to fall as well. So that is going to be a 4 for 2. Big swing going over to MVP. They lose the bot tower, but Gold's still staying really close.
Really nice shot call from MVP, because you notice the one bottleneck here for KT Rolster. Arrows in the bot lane, no way to get to this top side. And KT are playing overly aggressive on a side of the map where MVP have the inside track. They can walk through confidently their own jungle, knowing at worst it is a 5v4. And the numbers advantage is the big story because Maha, even though he falls low at the start of the fight, pops heal, and then free autos in the back line, has a relevant AD at this point. The headshot onto Hachani does massive damage. ADD still Maokai, and comfortable team fight win for MVP in a situation where KT were unnecessarily aggressive.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw right there the Azir changes coming in, just scooping Ssumday and shoving him straight back over that thick wall. And just puts him in no man's land in the thick of 3 members, and he just falls to the wayside very quickly. So can't be effective at all in the rest of that fight. Now we can see 0, 3, and 2 for the Swain. Hachani getting caught out, can't even make it to the magical journey. He's going to get popped, and that's just another kill coming in for MVP. Now 8-5, just about evening it up on gold, only falling behind by about 100 right now.
Feels like we're having a summary of KT's spring season all through the course of a single best of 3. Now they might still go on to win this game. I really like the comp. They've built themselves a decent spot earlier that even though they've given away free kills, they're still actually very competitive in gold, and if they take this inner turret, will be in the advantage at least for a short amount of time. So it's not panic stations for KT, but going from clean to unnecessary over just the course of a couple of minutes has unfortunately been too often the KT story.
Yeah, and I mean, they know that that is a factor. They've said, like, we'll win as long as we play smart. Don't go too crazy, and right now they're going just a little bit too crazy. So I have to reel it back in a bit, dial back to craziness, and try to collect themselves mentally and get into this game, focus up so they can close out with a 2-0. Otherwise, MVP making some really good shot calls in that last fight. And maybe looking for another one right now as Maha roams up here trying to get on the Ssumday. But he's not going to be able to close the distance in time, so Ssumday will be able to stay safe.
With the way item builds are, Ssumday feels pressure to go into Spirit Visit next, so it's going to be armor late. So Maha picking up that kill gold will mean that Swain will be killable.
John waiting until the last second, throws out the cocoon, but Score is there to follow up. Hachani going low, the Lamb's fight comes down to keep him alive. He throws out the magical journey to keep himself up, but no, it's not going to happen. He can't go through. He does get killed by Beyond. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade so far, and the blue buff looking like it's going to go over to KT this time around.
1-for-1. ADD didn't have teleport available, but of course no way for Ssumday to teleport in, given that Maokai can instantly cancel in multiple different ways. So the 1-for-1 trade goes advantage KT. They swapped support for jungler. Yeah, I just wanted to finish that point. Swain will not be tanky to Caitlyn for a long time, just because he has to build the Spirit Visage against triple AP on the top side of your screen in terms of Elise, Maokai, and Azir. So just like we saw from Smeb, Caitlyn picking up that extra gold will present a problem the moment that Infinity Edge is completed.
Well, he's nearing that mark, has the BF sword. Actually, there it is. That's the completion coming out. So now, Infinity Edge with the Runan's Hurricane for Maha. It's going to be pretty damn scary.
Health and magic resist, definitely itemized by KT. Armor, still 5-10 minutes away. So this is the point where Caitlyn can do some really big work.
And that was a problem that we saw yesterday with the Rocks Tigers, not having armor and just getting shredded by that Lucian. You know, like you said, with a Youmu's and a Black Cleaver, you're effectively hitting these people for true damage.
Not quite that build, because of course Caitlyn's still pigeonholed into the Hurricane Infinity Edge, but the same sort of flavor. Still going to see Maha do massive damage if unchecked in the back, and even the poke. Okay, not massive yet, but the auto attack's certainly going to be pretty fierce.
Yeah, you get those multiple headshots off in a team fight if no one's paying attention to you, much like we saw happen with Songyun 2 days ago. You just sit there and just endlessly shoot people from the back line. The team fights are not going to go very well for you, so KT going to have to steer their item purchases in that direction. Interesting choice, though. We see the Phantom Dancer coming out here for Arrow rather than the Static Shiv, so not looking for that big electrical shock to help clear out the waves.
We touched on the previous game that Civ are usually pretty aggressive when it comes to positioning in fights. This is basically something that, in a scenario where Civ finds herself next to Caitlyn, you're just going to have the attack speed and crit, but crucially you're going to have the passive that means that if you're hitting the Caitlyn, you're probably going to be able to do very well on those damage trades with the reduction in damage that Phantom Dancer provides. So just lets her be that duelist in the front line that she wants to be.
Yeah. See though, Dragon getting ready to spawn. Score already waiting in the pit for this one to come up, but MVP at the moment have several members just waiting around. Score already going to take a little bit of damage, has to hop out. It's going to be another Ocean Drake coming this time. So second Ocean Drake of the game, which means that we will not be seeing Mountain. It looks like MVP are just going to stick to this one. The question is, does KT go in for it? Smite's not going to come through this time from score. Has to flash out. TP's being channeled by both top laners. Ssumday comes in. Nice Bard ultimate from Hachani. Catches Max and Maha. They both flash over the wall. And now Beyond, nowhere to go. Has to drop in the middle of 3 members of KT. And he is going to fall. So gets the dragon, but loses his life.
There was 2 skills there that really decided that fight. Firstly, Ian kind of wastes the Azir ultimate. They know it's down. Then suddenly, Bard ult on multiple players. Everyone has to run different directions.
Oh, nice spell shield there from Arrow as ADD goes in deep. They drop the gravity field. He's going to take a lot of damage. He's actually going to fall. Finished off by the Sivir. And Ssumday pushing forward. Still not the taking these crits from Maha. Has to back off through the magical journey. That's going to be 2 kills picked up, plus a turret for KT.
Yeah, bonus things coming through for KT. Trying to keep pushing up, being very aggressive in this scenario. But the wave clear is still good from MVP.
That it is, but we're saying, you know, KT getting a little overzealous, making these wrong calls. That right there was pretty well played from these guys. Sure, didn't get the second Ocean Drake, but all things considered, they came out pretty well on top. We'll take another look at this fight in a bit.
Not going to look at the dragon. That was just another initiation from ADD. The spell shield comes through, and then he's completely alone. Okay, you see MVP first hitting onto the Bard, then changing target to Ssumday. Instead, KT's is very clear. They just kill the first target. That's the Maokai in the front line, and pile on the gold as a result.
Yep, now stretching a fairly comfortable lead of about 3,000, so still nothing insurmountable if you're MVP, but it's starting to look pretty damn good for these guys. Need to pick up a couple more towers if you're MVP. Right now, only have the one from the initial lane swap, and that's going to make up an immense amount of gold for that deficit.
KT continue to fight. Smite comes through. It's going to be Score picking up the red buff. Cloth armor means that Zhonya is very likely to be the next finish for Ssumday, and I feel like that 3rd item slot for Ssumday will really decide fights, because then Swain can very much disregard the enemy, walk in, buy time first with his own innate healing from the ultimate, and then the Zhonya's kind of reset aggro while still doing damage and sustaining. And there isn't really a clear answer from MVP unless, of course, you're really on point with the Azir ultimate in a proactive fashion. So I feel like that item may decide these fights that so far have been pretty competitive between the 2 teams.
Yeah. And that might be the time that Ssumday actually shows up, because right now it's been a little bit lackluster. It's sort of what we saw from Smeb earlier on in that game, except that game yesterday, except it kind of stretched the entirety of that match.
Smeb was greedy. He went for Ryze's 3rd when there was flat armor penetration being stacked on the enemy side. There's not that same armor penetration, and his 3rd item, Zhonya's. So at least Ssumday, a bit more sensible with the build.
Armor Pen's getting ready to come in, though. You can see Maha is going to start going for that Mortal Reminder.
Grievous Wounds change, and Swain being Swain means that's very, very clear that that is the
100% necessary.
correct choice between the Lord Dominic's regard.
I mean, it's also, you're applying Hurricane stacks on the people that might be standing in that Lamb's Respite, denying that big burst heal that comes in at the end of it. So, a couple of things.
Elder Dragon information being popped there for the viewers to confirm. 35 minutes still a whiles away, though, so we'll talk about that when it comes to it.
Yeah, we still have a little bit of time. Question is, what's going to be our final Drake that spawns?
Another Infernal would certainly be spicy when it came to team fights. Have to wait and get confirmation. Now KT still have good pressure. Again, they have the wave clear advantage when it comes to instant wave clear, so they're able to just push up the waves. Not like the wave clear is bad on MVP side, but Sivir Viktor just do it a little bit better than Azir and Caitlyn.
They have, it's just not nearly as fast.
Yeah, instantaneous versus strong but delayed wave
2
clear.
abilities or so.
Yeah.
See though, Baron very likely going to start becoming a point of contention. We do have this next dragon spawning now in just under 2 minutes, so maybe we'll see a fight break out there. But you know, if you win a fight at that dragon, you still have several healthy members. It could just tie straight into a Baron right off the back end. So next few minutes here could be very telling as far as the rest of this game goes. If MVP wins a big fight at either of these global objectives, it could be enough to just help propel them back into this match and at least pick up a couple turrets to close that gold deficit.
Well, the most reliable way is a pick.
Oh, we had ADD coming in here. Didn't have to use the teleport. Fly going to get caught by the Bard ultimate, keeping him alive. ADD now on the run. Flash forward by Hachani, finds Beyond into the wall, and he just takes a plethora of damage. Has to go up with a repel, comes down on top of a minion, and will be able to back underneath the turret safely.
Mentioned the P word, the pick. None comes through. A couple were threatened in that fight. The pick is the best way for MVP to get some pressure back on the map, because you can see KT are sticking pink wards further and further up the map towards that Baron buff area. They have very strong Baron damage and sustain with someone like the Swain available to tank it. So the threat is certainly there, and KT feel confident.
While they're walking on these wards, and Cocoon is going to go wide. Beyond can't really repel to anything outside of that pit, but Fly getting locked up, has to flash on the other side of this gravity field, and it looks like ADD might go down. He's sitting on top of the Lambs Respite now. The heal comes through. Score flashing away. Can they finish off the kills? It's going to be Maha finding Fly so far, but they do fire back and get ADD. Now the fight just scrambling. Somebody trying to get out of here, but he just cannot do it. The execution damage comes through from Beyond, and they finish him off. Score barely living from that headshot. And he is going to be able to walk away. The Caitlyn ultimate, rather. And all in all, it's going to be a 3-for-2. KT barely scraping out ahead of this one, but they're going to lose a tower in the mid.
The big story about this fight is it should have been a big win given the item timings, but Arrow is not able to auto-attack for so much of the fight. This is not Sivir playing with a tank. This was Sivir completely separated. So you will see Maha pushing big crits, 718 as you saw, getting auto-attacks in, and Arrow spends a lot of the fight just rotating. It could have been one-sided if Arrow was in a different position, but it ended up being a lot closer than expected. Just again, because of positioning on that AD carry and just off-screen. There was also the mid lane turret taken by Caitlyn, despite the fact that it was the 2v3 by the end of the fight.
Yep, and it's going to be another Ocean Drake.
Yay, the Ocean Drake.
Third of the game. Arrow, oh my god, Arrow taking a lot of damage to the backside of the pin. He's going to go down. Maha finds the kill. KT just getting way too aggressive. They will find the confirmation on the dragon, but they lose the AD carry for it.
Maha made actually a little micro mistake there. He attack moved into the dragon pit and crit the dragon for 700 to bring it to smite range. That's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to crit Kindred in the face, of course.
I mean, I'd still feel pretty good about getting a kill onto the AD carry, because
I would not feel so good about trying this Baron against Bard, but Bard ultimate's down, so maybe it's all right.
Yeah, they don't. It's not going to be up for quite some time. Baron already down to about half HP. Somebody going to have to make some kind of big play. He gets ready to walk forward. Beyond goes out with the repel. The dragon, or the Baron, going quite low. Can Score get in range? He's trying to. The Lambs Respite not going to go off in time. He goes down. Beyond should be able to confirm this one. He actually ties. The Baron helping him out, and Ssumday still very healthy. Can they get the Baron? It's going to be taken away by Maha. So far a 3-for-1 though. Can KT just remove the buffs? They're going to remove all of them except for that of the Caitlyn's. A bit of a disaster scenario, but KT still kind of making the best of it.
So Fly won them the fight. You might wonder how. You're going to have to see a replay to confirm it, but watch Maha. He's hitting over the wall. He's the one that was just critting people in the face for 1 million damage. Maha looks for auto attacks. He still hasn't gotten any. The Ryze ult comes out, and Maha does nothing the entirety of this fight. Baron buff hitting the MVP front line, and their AD carry with all the gold, happy footing in the corner. And that's the only reason that KT were able to come out so comfortably. Okay, he manages to pilt over Peacemaker, the Baron, to spare a couple of blushes, but that was KT playing around terrain, and Fly being smart enough to know, if I just put down this ult with how the ult has changed, you cannot just ignore it and walk through it like you used to be able to. In the past, you had to hit the initial damage to get really any burst out of the ability. Now it's just enough to be used as a zoning tool, and that fight was decided by Maha being zoned out completely.
Yeah, really great zoning. Just pushing him back. But still, gets the Baron. But 4 other members are currently lacking it on the side of MVP, and that does swing the kill count back in favor here of KT. But the gold pretty much going to remain stagnant. Still 3,000 separating these guys. And MVP in the last 10 minutes or so has only been able to pick up that 1 turret in the mid lane.
We'll have to talk again about item completion. Zhonya's completed for Ssumday. We called that as the key item, but worth noting that Maha is the person on his team with extra gold. He's actually ahead of his opposite number, Sivir, in both CS and about 1,000 gold up after all the kill involvements. 4 item Caitlyn. She gets those auto attacks away because, ADD, very tanky. Beyond, he did not go for any semblance of damage. It was literally the Runeglaive into straight rush into the Randuin's Omen. So the front line is strong, and Caitlyn is very powerful. If we see another scenario where Arrow, for some reason, is unable to get auto attacks off, MVP could definitely come out ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that fight, you know, nearly proven if Maha had been able to stick in and keep firing off those shots, he certainly would have been able to sweep the floor with the remaining members of KT, but Fly saw to it that that did not happen, but if he can't do it again, if Maha can position better, it could be an entirely different story, and we could even see a Game 3 tonight.
ADD has gone for an item that really tells you what MVP are looking to do. A lot of Maokais have been going for Iceborne Gauntlet as their build in the early game, but we do see the Frozen Heart being completed, so it's more of a team fight item. Now you don't have the Iceborne Gauntlet procs to actually do any semblance of split pushing. Maokai never a great split pusher, but that little bit of extra damage from Iceborne Gauntlet was very relevant. Doesn't trade well with the Frozen Heart, doesn't split push with the Frozen Heart, but does team fight very well.
Yeah.
So what they're really looking to do, the longer the split pushing phase is on, Ssumday will get small advantages, but nothing concrete that you can really barrel down. But MVP, they're ready to fight, I think. And if they pull off the right fight where Maha free autos, they can definitely take one down.
Both top laners have TP available, and everybody bunched up around this top lane turret. Maha should just be able to force his way in. The gravity field comes down, but it doesn't matter. He's got the range, has that rapid fire cannon as well, so finishes it off. Not going to find any kind of explosive fight happening, though. But a little bit more gold taken off of the docket here for MVP.
Oh, Ian almost face checks Hachani.
Oh, yeah. Gets sped up, though, and he will be able to make it out. Does not get hit by the Cosmic Binding.
See KT rotate. Gonna have to really lick their wounds a little bit, but were able to come up ahead in the Baron exchange. Didn't get the buff, but everything else pressure-wise really worked for them, especially when it wasn't an ideal scenario. I guess we're starting to see a window into why KT felt threatened enough to ban the Caitlyn the first game. MVP do seem to understand how to play these Caitlyn comps a lot better than the new style they tried with the double AD, the Lucian Twitch in game 1.
Yeah, we just ignore that. I don't think that didn't happen.
Give that one a mulligan.
That was a bad dream.
Get him a do-over.
QSS, though, for both of these AD carries coming out, so we'll be seeing that as the final item for Maha. Arrow just a little bit further behind, still has those 2 slots to fill, so the Mercurial Scimitar are going to be one of them. We'll see where he wants to go from there. He's got a couple different options.
Swain has this large rod in the item build, so I guess Death Cap, which would be a bit more sustained for the ult, of course damage on his abilities. Not feeling pressured enough to build a Void Staff despite all the AP stacking on the side of MVP. So all the magic resist stacking on the side of MVP.
Yeah. Maybe a last item Void Staff? I don't know. That wouldn't be too good.
Ryze, I guess, given the Ruby Crystal, is what he's looking for a bit more control. Again, not a bad item. It was actually always a Swain item, even back in the day after Rod of Ages.
It just glues everybody to you. I mean, that on top of the one that Fly has, you're just constantly slowing everybody with the AoE that they're able to output. But they need to be able to get it onto Maha and have everybody else jump on top of him as well. Can't do that. Damage is going to be insurmountable.
Elder Drake value definitely lopsided towards MVP when it comes to the buffs they're going to get.
Think about all that out of combat sustain for KT.
Oh, sad days.
I think they're going to get like 12% or something.
Now, of course, the Elder Drake does scale on the amount of dragons, so still having 2 means you're going to get some benefit, but having 3 and also getting the benefit on Infernal and Air is happy times from MVP, but you have to find a scenario to actually rush down that Elder Drake.
Which isn't a very easy thing to do.
No, I mean 12,700 health, as you can see.
He's pretty stacked.
Not even willing to start it just yet.
Yeah, Raid Boss Elder Drake.
Look at Vision, because that's kind of the going to give us the go buttons. It feels like MVP, once again, they don't have anything behind the back of the pit. Whenever we see teams play around an objective in Champions, it's all about the wards behind the pit to allow a home guard teleport, or even just the ability to control space for the Maokai. Because Maokai's running into your face from the front, very easy to play around. But when he's coming from behind, you have to really think, okay, who's the target he's going to go on to? Which way do we kite? A lot more decisions to be made. So this is, again, something that's kind of falling apart. It's not like KT have invested multiple pink wards behind this Elder Drake. They actually have pretty aggressive pink wards. There's nothing really behind the Drake. So there is spots there to get those deep teleport wards in. They just haven't really been pressured enough in that part of the map to actually put them down.
Yeah.
Whereas you can see the cheeky ward as Maokai's passing is a really nice spot for Swain to come in if it's a home guard teleport.
Yeah, that could be a very good one. Also adds one in the middle of the mid lane here, just above the river. So with those home guards, could very quickly join his teammates. So a lot of different options available to him, but Baron has since respawned here now. We can see MVP going to start prioritizing some vision on this side of the river as well as they take down the Scuttle Crab and get some wards placed into the jungle.
A lot of fans have been asking about the trade between the Elder Drake and the Baron. Which one do I take? And it's situational.
Comes down to the buffs, really.
Cloud Templar, the Korean caster, was talking about it yesterday, and he was definitely tipping the hat to Baron. I think in general that's correct.
Oh,
wow, actually.
That was really respectful.
Respect Flash.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one, but I guess they had Sivir and Swain on the bot side of the map, and they didn't know what was coming. I feel like in this game, very clearly KT desperately want the Baron.
They do. They want it so badly that some days, like, I'll just solo it, guys.
Well, they want the Baron just because Elder Drake for them doesn't mean much.
They want the Elder Drake, rather.
They desperately want the Baron because the Baron buff gives them a lot more than what the improved stats from the Elder Drake will give. MVP happy for either. They will not trade Elder Drake for Baron because they don't have, say, 5 stacks of it. If they had 5 stacks or 4 stacks of Dragon, then definitely an argument to go for Elder Drake. Vision's dropped after Bard had to flash away. Bard can't get close enough, and this Baron's been rushed down.
Oh, the Bard ultimate not going to connect, just a frame too late. It does get finished out here by MVP.
Nice play call. They blew the flash on Bard. They knew he had to recall. They cleared Vision. They took Baron. It follows. It's smart. It's the sort of play KT played with in game 1. Great to see from MVP.
Yeah, very good indeed. And Ssumday just wasn't even able to try to teleport in there. ADD was just chasing him up into the river, saying, like, if you start channeling, I'm just going to interrupt it, and then I'm gone.
And that's what happens when you're cheeky. You try and do a bit of damage to an Elder Drake that's not even a massive win condition. You have all your wards around the Elder Drake, and they had all their eggs around it. And then they just switched objective. They got the Baron very happily.
Yep.
Now you can opt into a fight with those extra stats around the Elder Drake, and just the on-the-fly problem solving that is the hallmark of top-level League of Legends. Good job, MVP.
Very good job indeed. Now we see though KT
Beyond's
maybe
gonna
getting
face
a catch
check.
on a Beyond. Score though, he's just paying attention to the Scuttle Crab, and now the Magical Journey comes down. They got to zip their way out of this one. Score down to about half HP. That could instill enough confidence here.
Swain has
into
that
MVP.
nice teleport pink ward. It's worth noting on the bot side of this Elder Drake.
He does have that one. It's going to be started up here by MVP, feeling confident enough to go for this. Wards in the pit from both sides as they try to go for the play. It's like MVP just going to play it safe and back off. Actually, no, go on to Ssumday, who's taking a hell of a lot of damage from the Caitlyn. Has to pop the Zonias here. Does so, but I don't know if he's going to regenerate enough HP in time, and he does not. Maha finds the kill. Score going to go down as well. Can't even use the Lamb's Respite, and now it's Fly and Arrow on the other side, tanking up this Elder Drake, which is almost certainly going to go over to MVP. And with this take, with the Baron, after the resets, they're going to find themselves with a very firm lead in this game.
Yeah, so many different stacking buffs. Only a couple of minute duration on the Elder Drake, so you have to use it. You don't really want to shop after you pick it up. I guess with the Baron recall, they have a bit more room, but this is the much smarter way to approach it. And Ssumday went for that teleport play, but you can see that KT are slow to react. They feel like they can't go in. Only now do we see a little bit of damage from Fly on the other side, but the threats were not grouped. Both members that were on the bottom side are taken down. Very smart of MVP to instantly disengage from the Elder Dragon and take down Picture. You can see Picture in Picture. They're going to try and use his buffs to end the game.
Yeah, and they very well can. As much damage as they have, they're going straight in onto the first Nexus Tower. Triple Baron-empowered cannons there. Big damage comes out from the Chaos Storm, however, trying to find a kill. Not going to find anybody, but this could be the re-engage. A score goes in onto Maha.
The Bard
has
ultimate.
to flash away. Can they find the catch? Bard ultimate not thrown out quite just yet. Score still on the hunt. He's not going to be able to find it. The Bard ultimate not going to connect, so Maha makes it out with his life. So MVP successfully find an inhibitor and the Nexus Tower, and they all get out alive.
Yeah, now we see the Mantra E coming up for Karma, so able to just speed everyone away as if they had their own Sivir. Pick up the buff on the outside. MVP really impressed with how smartly they've played. Looked like it was going to be a tricky game for them. We saw Caitlyn really struggling and floundering around one Baron, but crucially they confirmed that Baron, and since then they've just played teamfight smarter.
Oh, another TP comes in here from ADD, going to try to pinch off on Score, who is just taking an enemy red buff. way too far forward. Lamb's Respite comes down, but to no avail. He's just going to die. Score, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, red buff's stronger in the late game, but dying in the late game post 40 minutes still has a super punishing death timer. They did not have the pressure on the map to justify it, and it's just a gaff. There's no other way to put it.
I mean, maybe if they didn't have Baron, but they had Baron empowered recalls at that point in time. They're going to get back to base. They're going to be able to find you. It was just way too aggressive and just honestly...
But there's scenarios where that's not a problem, right? If Bard is next to you and you can just magical journey over.
But by yourself, in this scenario, is a very unintelligent play.
It was an ambition solo mission.
And then he assumed the position.
I mean, the ambition position's looking pretty good after that win over Rocks Tigers.
Yeah, yes it is. But now we can see second inhibitor going to fall. Big wave getting ready to crash, and KT just can't do a damn thing.
Well, they're probably going to ban the Caitlyn again.
Yeah.
Caitlyn, whether it's the spiritual reason, I mean, they've played very smartly around it, but it's been more than just the Caitlyn. It's been smarter play by MVP. They've really adapted their team play, crucially, in fights, and it feels like KT have been showing up late to things. They're looking for optimistic engages, which have been punished, and decisive shot calling is really the adaptation that MVP have really done this game, and it's paid off in spades.
They completely flip-flopped from how they were in the last game. KT was the ones making the great shot calls, and MVP was just flopping around on the map, and now it's just completely changed hands. KT just seeming like they don't know what to do, and pretty much about to give up a game to the very rookie team of MVP.
But it's exciting to see because...
Oh, absolutely. I'm all for the upset.
MVP could very much have been the next Kongdu Monster. You know, the also-ran that team that picks up a game win, maybe one series win, but nothing more. They're showing that they do have tricks to their strings to their bow. They really do have different ways to play the game. They tried something crazy in game one, it didn't work. They go for something a lot more measured, and okay, we talked about the fact how they're going to make this Azir and Caitlyn work. They rotated their resources. They've still kept up CS advantages for both mid lane and bottom lane, or very worse, even CS. They've navigated some tricky macro headaches, and they've navigated them well.
And they have. I mean, I think, you know, you and I have been fairly outspoken about our opinions on MVP before this match, thinking that, you know, they're probably going to be one of those bottom teams here in LCK. I'd love to be proven wrong by these guys, and they're making a pretty big statement for themselves if they're able to close out this game.
You know, opinions and expectations can only be made based on information you have. You look at the available data points, and you're like, well, I mean, these players don't inspire too much confidence.
Yep.
There's not that much hype around them. The playoff performance wasn't great, KT or KT. You know, you put the math together and you say 2-0 KT, but then you see things like this and it inspires you for future series. And now our data points will include a game where for at least 45 minutes, KT have played, MVP have played to a game plan almost exclusively and done it clean.
Well, hopefully they can maintain this level of play, not only to just close out this game and potentially set, but to continue on for their, you know, their next matches coming up. If they play like this, they can find some wins. Double Bard ultimate connects onto Beyond and Maha. EDD gonna get slowed up, taking a hell of a lot of damage. Still has the Guardian Angels available though, and Maha is a very healthy Caitlyn at the moment. So it looks like he's just gonna be able to be quite safe. And Arrow is completely relegated down towards this Nexus, clearing out these double super creep waves that are just continuously pouring into the base.
The reason you didn't see a true engage from KT is that Ssumday was the one trying to hold the minions, got low and actually had to back, so they had to send Sivir away, so half-hearted engage. This could be the turret take though. Seeing a lot of damage
like it might be. Beyond's gonna get locked up here though, takes a hell of a lot of damage. The repel comes through, he might be able to make it out alive. Last hit comes through, he will go down. Fly finds the kill. EDD goes back in, the Lambs Respite down now, keeping score alive for the time being, but he still gets taken quite low. The heal popped to about 50%. He's able to back off. We can see that is the inhibitor respawning in the bottom side. Super Creep's about to knock that one down, so somebody has to answer this, and the pings are coming up from MVP. They're just going to turn straight toward this Baron.
It was still a really big win for KT. They played it smartly. They got the double Bard stun onto the two damage dealers, so didn't pay any cost, but you can see the culmination of having two inhibitors down means that you pretty confidently take Baron.
Oh.
Teleport has to be cancelled because they get the news, and they're like, well, we wanted to contest, but there's no way to do so.
Yeah, I thought he finished it for a second. This is like the last second that he could have channeled it, but we'll take another look at this.
This definitely couldn't have gone better. The first Cosmic Binding gets the damage onto Beyond. He will eventually die, even through a Mikhail's Crucible, you'll notice. when the damage finally registers. But the Cosmic Binding that comes in just a couple of seconds onto Maha and Ian, I mean, they do no damage, so they win the HP trade here after the first kill. They're in a great position, but you can only get so much when you've kind of been dictated to for the last 15, 20 minutes, and still an exit Baron is an easy objective for MVP to pick up.
Yeah. Worth noting though, Ssumday did lose his Guardian Angel in that exchange. Final headshot did come through from Maha, so he got that crucial item cooldown popped. ADD holding on to his still, was able to make it out without having to resurrect. So it's still going to be another minor victory here for MVP.
KT, they pushed up their top lane, they didn't lose the turret, and now they're actually able to contest this bot lane inhibitor. In any other scenario, they would have had to 100% give it up. Now they have different options, but Viktor in base means they kind of have to back away.
Oh my god, and the damage on the arrow like that means they have to just go ahead and back off. And the mid one respawns, and it goes straight back down. So double inhibitor pressure is still going to be there for KT, and this is just looking grimmer and grimmer as the minutes roll by.
KT only seem to have bought a couple of minutes delay on what looks to be an inevitable first win in Champions for this iteration of MVP. They're going to have to come back and once again try to push up this minion wave. They got the turret very low, but weren't able to finally tip it over because of the
like 4 shots from Caitlyn, and it's gone.
Because of the increased dragon time spawner when it comes to the Elder Dragon. It is the 10-minute spawn time, so still 2 minutes away. So for now, no possible punishment for KT. Everyone playing on the top side of the map.
And we'll see if they're able to find themselves a third inhibitor, and I feel like if they do, the game's probably going to follow shortly thereafter, unless KT gets a miracle ace off this play. But ADD, a very tanky Maokai, has that Guardian Angel, so they're just going to push in. On the hunt gets popped, and they're just kiting backward. Hachani on the sidelines. Does he go down? Gets caught. ADD goes in, finds the kill as Maha finishes him off over the wall. ADD looking like he might get that GA pop, and he does. He will have to come back up with Fly. Going to have to back off to the Fountain. Arrow as well, chunked down to about half HP. And this should be enough for MVP to go ahead and push in and finish off this inhibitor. We'll see how much more they can take. The wave's not yet into the base, but the mid lane pretty damn close.
Yeah, they're going to have 3 inhibitors down, though, so it's again more of a waiting game. I feel like MVP really didn't need to push that final inhibitor. There's such good wave clear that KT have options to answer it, but again, accumulation of pressure. You could have found a more proactive way to end the game. It's going to happen one way or the other.
Oh, yep, Score going to have to flash away from the cocoon, but the damage still comes through, and he's taking a hell of a lot of it. Ssumday trying to go on the run.
Lamb's
It's on the Lamb's Respite, does keep him alive, but the Nexus is now exposed, and Maha is still, actually goes down. Big crits come through from Arrow, they finish him off. They're going to try to keep him alive.
Hold this?
But this Nexus, it actually lives! They wipe out MVP, and KT Rolster are going to keep the game going as we reach the 50-minute mark.
Crazy stuff. How important was that Lamb's Respite from Score? I thought Swain was just going to give his life away. It doesn't happen. We're 50 minutes into the game. The death timers are no shorter than they were the last time we saw. Now, do they actually have the ability to push the team? The answer is no. You can see with super minions and such a low Nexus, not 5-man can they commit to mid lane. So there's no way to end this game despite the death timers, but they can still do their best to at least force down an inhibitor.
They're gonna try. We can see Score catching the wave here as just the tier 2 in mid falls. KT trying to work through this. The wave now arriving. They should be able to get this inhibitor. It's still gonna be 25 seconds on Beyond, 15 on Maha and Max. So they will get an inhibitor. It's gonna be a slight reprieve.
Oh boy!
But actually, they're gonna go for it. They say it's do or die time. Ssumday coming in. Here comes Maha in just 5 seconds. The first Nexus turret going down.
This
the
would be
second
such
one
a comeback.
Getting burned very quickly. Here comes Maha. Let's see what he can do. Looks like they can't do anything. KT Rolster with a miraculous save at their Nexus. Come back and finish the game.
Just insane stuff. We often see veteran squads come up with superior shot calling, but that ability from Score, putting down the Lamb's Respite, keeping the Swain alive, looking at the health bars and realizing, wait, we have a chance to do this. They do it, they get the ace, the death timers are still long enough in the late game, and crazily, MVP come away from this series with absolutely nothing.
My
KT
God.
fans are just over the moon, and MVP not the introduction they were looking for. They played so well for 48 minutes. We could point to one mistake. Maha's happy footing around Baron and no others in 48 minutes. And then just in a couple of minutes, right at the tail end of their first Champions Series, they just didn't focus down that Nexus fast enough.
I mean, neither you can see right now the frustration from Ian on your screen. But honestly, I mean, KT, it's got to be a breath of relief after that match. But I don't think either of these teams can...
I mean, KT doesn't look stoked.
Yeah, I was going to say, neither of these teams can walk away and feel complete about that victory or about that loss. MVP, unable to clinch out the match, and KT barely inching out ahead. They played so poorly throughout the majority of that second game, but right when it mattered,